Today's story. We've been sharing stories the last couple of days since Moishe Shabbos of the much beloved Rav Mendel Futefas, who always had a twinkle in his eyes and a smile playing on his lips. I had actually a book that someone took. I think I told you, I mentioned it. I have to get another copy, a book all about Rav Mendel that someone wrote. His Fabrengen, it's a story, it's a wonderful book. Anyway, so here's one of Rav Mendel's stories that he would share at Fabrengen. Many of his stories were about Siberia. His own experience there, the 8 years he was actually in the Gulag, total of 14 years in imprisonment. So one of the things that were forbidden in the barracks was the playing of cards. But the guards suspected, and they were, pretty sure that the inmates were playing cards. The prisoners, the convicts, prisoners. And but every time they make a surprise raid, there was no trace. And on one occasion, they decided to make a thorough raid, turn the place over, and there's no cards. But it was clear to them that the prisoners were playing cards. It was a complete mystery. In fact, it was a mystery to Mendel, because he's there in the barracks, he sees them playing cards, and then the search, and to the frustration of the guard, no, the cards are nowhere to be found. There's two versions of the story, but it comes down to the same thing. I'll tell the story as I just recently read it. So, Rav Mendel asked, what's happening? How is this happening? So they said to him that some of us here, professional pickpockets. So when the guard comes in, we put the cards in his pocket. And before he leaves, we deftly remove them. And of course, it's the last place that the guard would look. In fact, not the last place, it never occurred to him to look there. So this is a typical story that Mendel, everything that he saw and heard was a lesson in Avodas Hashem, and I think we can all understand the lesson. In the two extremes, that when you're trying to find fault in everybody else, the place to look is really in my own pockets. And the other extreme is when you're looking for something good, you're trying to find the solution or the answer. And we're trying to find it, elsewhere, where often the treasure or the object of our search is really within ourselves. And we need to simply look deeply. So the two extreme lessons from this story. I'm just going to tell you, maybe we'll elaborate on another occasion. The Shliach Lazarov, who's the Shliach in Montevideo. Some of you were by the oil when he verbringed with us. But Mendel Futefas, what did I say? I said Lazarov. His mother's.
He said his grandmother's name.
I said his grandmother's name because we're related through Lazarov. Lazarov. We share common great or great grandmother, whatever it is. And our grandmothers were sisters. At any rate, so he was a great nephew of Rav Mendel. So he once asked him. He asked Mendel, tell me about the years in Siberia. They were talking, and the Mendel said they were his best years. The Mendel's words, his best years were the years in Siberia. And he says to him, but he went to labor. He says, sure, there was labor. He says, well, for one time, he didn't say how long this was. His job as manager was to deal with a herd of swine and tend to their needs from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. The Mendel dealing with swine. But nonetheless, they were his best years. Explain, and that'll leave for another time, how he describes what was going on in his mind and heart during that time. Aside from being always open to the Hashgacha Pratis and the lessons, he actually thrived. And I mentioned Moishe Shabbos, the amazing thing was when they came out of Russia, Like he was one of the boys. He wasn't this mythical hero, and he wasn't this broken man having suffered. No, neither. He was one of the boys. He was extraordinary chassid, but no airs about him, and no mystique even, other than real sense of humor and tact. As I described it, he could get off the plane. The Russia comes, and the Fabrengen is going on, and sit down at the Fabrengen and just listen. Or if he's being asked, he'll speak without to come out the mythical hero of Russia in his mind, in his state of being, because he was a chassid throughout. He was the same chassid. On the contrary, there he really thrived as a chassid, and I'll describe to you in the next Mitzvah Shem tomorrow what was going on, what he shared with Laser, what he was thinking about in his head. Mitzvah Shem tomorrow. Okay, friends.
Thank you very much.